Hello, this is Mark Miller once again with the Kitsap Literary Artists and Writers Creative Showcase. We have a little bit of extra special little interview here today because we're going to be interviewing Gary Parker, who runs a business called Barbecue to You. And he's extremely supportive of the arts and authors and just the community in general. And I'm glad to see you could make it here today, Gary.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me.
And real quick, we have a photo here. This is what Barbecue to You looks like. It's up in Gig Harbor off of Fosdick. And I will let you go ahead and explain how you got started and then how all of a sudden all of us authors and everybody else jumped in.
Showed up in there?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of an interesting story, really. Let me give you the background on me. And I'm really an engineer, a physics engineer. Worked for IBM and Intel all my career life. And so time mark, late 2017, right?
Yeah.
I'm retiring.
Right.
I'm retiring out of the tech world. It just wore me out. So, and I had already done so much that I was trying to get out. So my friend walked up to me and says, "Hey, I got this fantastic space," right? And because I'd been barbecuing on the side. That's why it's called Barbecue to You, by the way. Is because I used to take my big trailer pit and go to people's houses or go up in the mountains or go out on the beach and do these kinds of things, right? And so it was Barbecue to You. And they said, "Hey, man, you're really good. You know, everybody loves your stuff. You ought to do brick and mortar." So I retired, and this was the old Washington State liquor store.
Oh, okay, that's what it was.
Back if you remember remember the days when Washington did it that way. And cut a deal to remodel this place, and I turned it into a restaurant. And so so life was going on in interest of time, and we opened in 18, and it was an absolute blowout. Right, and of course now I've never run a restaurant before. I'm a tech guy.
Yeah.
Right. and they said it's one of those situations where they said, "Open a restaurant. It'll be fun. Watch." Right.
And you got to start worrying about payroll and insurance and all that stuff.
And all these kinds of things. But fortunately, you know, I've been running billion-dollar programs, and so I could certainly figure out how to run a restaurant, I think. And so we started doing all that, and I had a crew. Then there was this little thing that came up called COVID.
Yeah.
Right. So we're about 13, 14 months into our existence, our very existence, and all of a sudden we find ourselves in a very unique position. And I distinctly remember it. Right. This was the end of March. Right. Of when COVID hit. And this is for anybody that's been to the shopping center, you know, this thing is packed from 6 o'clock in the morning to 9 o'clock at night. That parking lot's full, and so you can imagine how surreal it was to walk around and no cars on a Monday or a Tuesday, and it would just be desolate out there, right? So, but we were a restaurant. So we could stay open when nobody else could, right? And
well, you're also a restaurant with supposedly correct square footage, which nobody has been able to explain since.
Right.
But I won't even go there because otherwise I'm going to go on a rant.
Right, exactly. So we're sitting there and we're still open. And again, being a young restaurant, I want you to try to get this emotion right, which was we were one of 3 restaurants that were open to feed the entire population of that lower peninsula, right? And we got it's kind of like baptism of fire is what it was, right? We never designed this store to do that kind of traffic, because you remember, this is just me trying to do a little retirement gig, right? Suddenly I'm feeding the populace of the southern Gig Harbor Peninsula.
So you have a huge line.
We got lines out the door. We have one fryer. We had people standing in line in there waiting on their fries and their fried pickles to come out. We just couldn't physically go any faster. Right. And so there were people complaining and stuff. And so this was kind of one of the origins, right? So me and one of my friends, we were talking about this one night after a crazy day. And he said, "You know what we ought to do? We ought to turn adversity into advantage," which that's in the store. I don't know if you do that. That's my when I was a tech engineer. Right. We always tried to turn adversity to advantage, right? Oh, and so that's the motto in there. And so we said, it'd be really cool because all these other businesses can't open. Right. I can stay open. And so why don't we take all these extra tables and chairs and crap that we got, and we made that big circle, right, around the lobby. Right, and we invited in authors. Right. That's where I met Larry Fowler. Right, And then we also had like Ken Walker Jewelers and some other retail, Love of Spice and and some other people all around. And we let people set up little like 4-foot displays all around.
Right.
Now that was a double-edged sword. One, it helped them, but also all those people sitting around waiting on their fryers and stuff to come out those fryers. They had something to do.
Yeah.
Wow. And so so that we got through those real intense weeks that way. But it stuck, right? And so most notably for this conversation was the authors, right? So I had gotten to know and got to shoot in the bull with Larry Fowler a lot, right? And he was writing his first Lincoln book, or the second Lincoln book at that point. And so we would sit over there and shoot the bull. And I said, hey, wouldn't it, I said, I promote reading. I promote the sciences too, obviously being an engineer. But I said, we really, people are so illiterate and we need to really promote more reading and more books and stuff like that. I said, why don't you create this bigger display thing? Yeah. Right. And this was still COVID. And then so he did that. And I saw that it was very popular, right? There's a lot of readers. And being the local author, right, it was very valuable. Time step forward again. All right, now we're starting to come out of COVID, right? We've been doing this. We can now set the tables all back out. Yep. And if you put this picture up.
Here, and this is what it looks like today, ladies and gentlemen.
What we did was, there's a little nook up at the front of the store. It's kind of a little cut in, right? And I just said, hey, why don't I not put the tables here? Right, and if you remember, we didn't have the shelves at first. We just had the table. Right. We gave you guys a table,
and we brought some of our own little collapsible shelves in.
And so we'd taken some of our bar level tables and put the spinner thing on it, and that worked for a year or so. Right, and then we were talking again, and we said, hey, why don't I just buy shelves? Right, and because we were getting into that point where now. There'd been, we have 30 some authors, right, that cycle through this table, and people come in looking for their books when they're not there, and the whole concept of the shelves was, well, let me let you go ahead and display your stuff. Right. We put all the titles in the POS.
No. Right? Yeah. Right.
So now even when the author's not here at the table, then people still come in and they browse them and they take them up front and they buy them, right? And so this thing has just evolved. Right, since 2020, we're here now in 2024, and from what you guys tell me, you absolutely love it.
Oh yeah,
and
you allow us to go in there at a week at a time, so we can sit there, and this is from last Veterans Day when I was sitting here with all my books, right? And so we all come in depending on how many books. I've got a whole bunch because I got a local publisher, and so we come in, every author comes in and we set up how we want to set up with, of course, the understanding that A, it is a restaurant, so B, you don't want to harass people trying to eat their barbecue.
Right, you don't.
So it's set up so primarily when people are leaving, we can have a discussion with them. Hopefully, of course, some people are in a hurry so they can't because they're we've got a lot of DoorDash and stuff like that coming through. But a lot of people, now they've got a nice full stomach, they're in a good mood, and all of a sudden you say, hey, what kind of books do you like to read? Yeah. And then you get a nice long conversation, and maybe they buy a book, and maybe they don't. But if nothing else, they get your business card, you hand stuff out, and you just have a nice conversation with other people. Yeah. And that's why the big thing that I think you really did is you've got a position where people can have nice conversations.
Yeah, we do that. And it's totally free to authors. Right. And I think that's important. I learned recently, or at least, I was told this. I haven't validated it, but like you can set up just like this in Fred Meyer. Right. Right. Or some of the other like grocery stores and things around town, but they all charge you guys. Right.
Well, they either charge or like there's a group that runs the Fred Meyer out in front of Walmart and stuff, and it's really bizarre. Yeah. They will have adult books like Stephen King's stuff inside. If you're out in front, they want young adult books, kids books, Christian books, boom. Right. And I had a long discussion with the guy who organizes all that, and Well, we don't want to offend everybody. Yeah, but you got the books inside, and the person's. I could just hear him on the phone, his eyes rolling back in his head because they don't quite. They can't seem to be able to grasp that concept of, well, if we get the books in the store, why should it matter if you're outside? But anyways, that's their business.
Yeah.
But
it's not as easy for you.
Exactly.
Right? There's these barriers.
Exactly.
Plus you got to, if you sell a book, something 20, 30, 40% goes back to the store.
Yeah.
Right? I don't want to do that. That's not the point of community give back, right?
Exactly.
And this is where this all plugs in. This is, I'm known, I just got Citizen of the Year, for all the philanthropy and the citizen give backs that we do, right? And
you had something last year too.
Oh yeah, I was Business of the Year. I've been Business of the Year. I've been New Business of the Year. I've been nominated now multiple times for Citizen of the Year. This year, I got Gig Harbor Citizen of the Year as well as South Sound Citizen of the Year. So we've had a lot of joy in doing that.
He was in a parade.
Yep, we were up in the front of the parade on June 1st. That was kind of fun too. But anyway, in the author's corner, it's really nice because it's set up so that it's free. It's not a burden on you, right? Get your stuff out, right, and get it in front of the public. The other thing we've learned, right, is because now with the route of COVID, you guys are back into going out to the art fairs and so on, and having what I like to call your all's big red tent, right, events, right. This is a great place for new authors.
Yes.
Right. We help you guys bring in the new authors who have never really been out in front of people before. Yeah. And this makes a real nice, safe kind of a place, right? Where and I sit with them because you know how I come out and sit with people.
Oh, yeah.
And I say, look, the pros that do this stuff, they all have their tagline.
Right.
You'll always say, what kind of book you like to read, right? And things like that, right? And Larry's got his, and Mike Martin's got his, and and it draws that customer into the situation. Well, newbies, right, that aren't used to this, they don't have any of that, right? They just kind of
they've got to learn.
They kind of sit there, and just say about time they hit Wednesday, they're asking themselves, why am I sitting here?
Exactly.
Right? So you got to go out and give them a little pep speech that says, well, you got to be a little more relaxed, invite, use your eyes, invite people, have your tagline, to come in, and so they sit there, and by the time they've done this a couple times. Now when they go out into those high intensity environments like the art festival and stuff like that, they're more prepared to talk to it. The other really cool thing that really pops out in this picture is I wanted to talk about this book right here.
I was hopefully you're going to mention that because as you started talking, I thought that because I interviewed her about a month or so ago.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So that's Ashley Carmen, and she's 14 years old.
Yep.
And that was her first book. She's got two versions of it because it's a little tale, and she's got a little piece of jewelry that goes with the sealed ones. And she is probably one of the most popular sellers.
Yep.
Right at Barbecue, a 14-year-old author, and she's got a second book out now, from what I understand. It's an amazing story. I love seeing when youth comes in. Yeah. Right. Because frankly, you and I are the ages we are. And being an author is kind of one of these things where you generally get an older crowd, but it's really refreshing in the author space to see these young ones come out and write these books.
Yeah, to show you the difference in generations. Yeah. When I interviewed her, she told me, I says, well, how did you get started writing and doing the first book? She says, well, I pitched it to my parents and I used a PowerPoint. And I looked at her and I said, you did what? And she said, I did a PowerPoint. It had graphs and everything to show why I wanted to write this book and get it published. And it's that you look at them and you go, my God, they think completely different than we do.
You're right, they do.
But at the same time, she's got a great personality, and it's a good YA young adult book. Right. And she did some of her own artwork and things like that. So, and that's, like I said, she's a great example of the cross section of people you get in there.
Yeah. And now we've got the authors group.
Right.
So once a month, I didn't get a chance to do it this month, but that we get together and we talk about, we try to have an open conversation about how to best market your products, right? You know, because author, what I've learned, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm a barbecue guy, not an author, but you know, authors get stuck in rooms, right? And, and you're sitting there, and you're either writing in one form or the other, and not a lot of social interaction, right? So, and certainly not a lot of Facebooking and Instagramming and so forth that comes out to get the word out about yourself. Well, retailers like myself, right? That's all we do, right? All day long is we sit around and say, okay, it's been 30 minutes since everybody saw my logo. I better figure out how to get it
out there again.
Yeah, and so we're constantly doing that stuff. And so a lot of our conversations, right, are about how to do that.
Yeah.
The book signings in the store are particularly fun. Do you remember Mary Jaffe?
Oh, yeah.
And
she brought in an Irish band.
Yeah, she brought in an Irish band that day, and the customer base just loved it, right?
Yeah.
They were all sitting around, you know, toe tapping and doing stuff, and that was so much fun, right? And, you know, with Larry, we were doing trivia the other day with the customers, right? And having a good time. And so I let you guys expand on yourself, right? And we don't want to go crazy and, like you said, and annoy the customers, right? But we want them, you know, from a marketing standpoint for Barbecue to You, I want people to walk in and say, we never know what's going on in there, right? It's such a fun thing and such a fun place to go into, and there's always something going on, whether it be the authors or whether it be the ladies' paint class that Deborah Ray puts on.
And then you have bingo.
And then on Tuesdays, every Tuesday from 3 to 4, we do free bingo for seniors, right? And so I get all the prizes and stuff, and that's just a hoot too, because there's standing room only in there when that happens.
And that's I guess a big part of Barbecue to You too, is that Gary reaches out to a lot of the senior living centers that are around Gig Harbor and area, and that gives people in their later lives something else to do. And some of those same people now are writing books, and hopefully they'll either self-publish or they'll find a publisher that'll take them. And it's been proven that the more you keep your brain active, not just watching television, but actually active, like writing, composing, whatever, even talking with somebody, the longer you're going to live, and the longer you're going to stave off.
You're going to have more joy in your life, right? You know, there's one lady, there's a story I'll share with you. It was also about the same time during the COVID thing. And I'm spacing the name, so I'm going to get in trouble. But this little lady, she came in just like you guys did, right? And she was on the corner of one of those tables, and she's an artist. She doesn't do it, but she does pictures. And she got such a resounding response from customers, right? Because she was doing portraits of people and doing stuff. And she came to me after the fact, after her time was up, and she goes, you know, this has been so rejuvenating, right? That you know, that I actually feel like doing art again.
There you go.
You know? And it was very moving at the time. And so she still comes back. She's still one of them that does the art shows.
Cool.
There's a couple weeks out of the year where the authors aren't here, but
you have artists.
I have artists come in too, right, and do that kind of thing. A lot of fun.
Yeah, and that's like we've got another book here. It's based on an actual incident. Hank the Tank.
Oh, Hank the Tank.
He's writing a sequel because they found out it's about a bear down in California that started figuring out how to break into the seasonal cabins when nobody was there, and knew how to open up the refrigerators and cupboards and everything, with eating all the food. Well, they finally caught Hank, and they found out Hank was actually Henrietta.
Yep.
So she has been moved, I think, to Colorado. So he's writing a second book now. But he's another individual that isn't exactly young, but yet he's written an excellent children's book. This is one of the best children's books around.
Right.
And, so you've managed, by you doing this, which is very unique, like you said, because you're not charging people a bunch of money and all this other stuff, you've really opened up a lot of useful work, I guess you'd call it, for just average people to be able to do something else to do.
Yeah.
And so the community definitely owes you for doing that, and specifically the artistic community or the creative community. And that's why I wanted to have you here, because that's kind of what Kitsap Literary Artists and Writers is about. We try to get people in and try to help people see the artistic side of themselves.
That's right. Yeah, get that coming out, because that's a very healthy thing. We do a lot. To take it now to the upload. It's kind of funny if you look at the store, because we got authors and stuff all up here in the front of the store.
Right.
And then we always have the kids, right, doing the counter takeovers.
Oh yeah.
Similar to what we do with the authors, we have a youth group of some sort, whether it be out of the schools, soccer teams,
volleyball
or
teams,
bands. They're always trying to find money for something, right? They get to take the counter over, right, for a week. And the way that works is they go out and promote it, right? And they come in and they have lobby parties and stuff, which help you guys out too.
Yeah.
When they do that, and so then they get 10% of whatever the receipts are,
right,
for that week, right? And all they have to do is tell the people coming in. There's a little jar sitting right there next to the end of the counter for those who have been there, and you just drop your. And what's kind of fun is that jar kind of fills on its own right now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Once you get, because when I go in there to stuff my face, I'll look to see what the jar is. The jar's out. Yeah.
And so, but what's funny now, like in the summer, because school's out now, right?
Right.
So we'll kind of be, lax at it, right? Because there's not a lot of groups doing stuff over the summer.
Right.
I'll start getting questions, right? By the time we get into August, say, hey, when's your next deal? I want to be putting my receipt in, because that was one of the learnings that we had with working retail. Was the population. They want in some way somehow to get more for their money than just buying what they're buying, right? They want to see a value add, and so tapping back into the community like we do, they know they can come in there and spend $15 to buy their lunch,
right?
But they know that $1.50 of that is going to, if they put that piece of paper in that jar, $1.50 of that's going to go help a kid somewhere.
And now that we've opened up again, people want to get out. They want to do something else. They don't ever want to have to be, quote unquote, locked in their home ever again, unless it's something like a nuclear war or something. So, you get that attitude now. They're looking for something to do. They're looking for good food. By the way, his barbecue is the best in the world as far as I'm concerned. And so they're looking for good food. They're looking for good socialization. They're looking for something fun to do. And so that's one reason why Barbecue to You and this kind of setup really has helped the community, and also, of course, helped the artistic community.
Yeah, we're really focused on at a bigger concept, what you were just talking about. We're really trying to battle a thing we call warehousing. Right. And if you step back and you look at society today, the intense pressure on wage earners and families, one of the phenomenons of that, both with the seniors as well as with the youth, is I'm going to be at work. I'm focused here. Mom and dad, 2-job family. Here's a credit card. Go, stay in the house. We don't want you going anywhere. Right. Order DoorDash. And what is it? So what on the youth side, it's all about, they just sit there and they play their video games, they order DoorDash, and we got to get them out. So that's why the youth up front, getting those youth activities, whether it be bands or soccer or baseball or football or whatever, let's give them more opportunity to get out of that house. On the senior side, it's exactly the same thing. Right? Because so many people today are bringing their parents in to the house, right? In order, when they get aged and they need help. But they have the same problem. They get stuck watching Weather Channel and CNN, and that stuff will rot your brain. It will. And everybody's learned that lesson, right? Is you can't sit there and stare at that stuff 24 hours a day, or it'll hurt you, right? And so we try to do bingos, right, and beanbag baseballs, and take them to the movies once a month, and take them down to Java and Clay and Gig Harbor, and let them do crafts. I mean, it's not hard to do, right?
You just have to put forth the effort.
You just have to put forth the effort, and they watch particularly with the seniors, to watch them come alive,
Yeah.
right, with each other. And when you get 30 of them together and they're all sitting there making pottery or playing bingo and stuff, they just have a hoot.
Exactly.
Right, and it's so warming because they'll come up to me, right,
Yeah,
and just tell me how much they appreciate it all, and those kinds of things.
Well,
right?
Everybody appreciates you. So once again, I greatly want to thank you for getting you down here, because I really thought this needed to be pointed out there, that there are businesses out there trying to really help the community, and specifically the artistic community. So once again, great you came here. And
I appreciate it. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yep. Kitsap Literary Artists and Writers, of course, we are a volunteer organization. I don't charge any dues or anything to show up. We meet twice a month, the first and third Wednesdays at Spiro's on Kitsap Way, 7 p.m. And part of that is, of course, me finding more people to interview for this show, which, thanks to the Bremerton Kitsap Access Television staff and also my publisher, Blue Forest Press, who has a film division, we managed to film and edit these interviews to be able to get out to the public. They are broadcast on Wave Cable Astound Channel 3 and Comcast Channel 12 every Saturday evening at 6 p.m. In addition, we then posted on our Kitsap Literary Artists and Writers page on Facebook. After this interview, when I get it edited, I will also give a copy of the interview to Gary here, and he can put it on his Facebook page or whatever he wants to do with it, and we'll get even more information out there. But this is what I guess we appreciate in the arts community, is everybody coming together to help anybody who wants to be any kind of artist, whether it be painting, writing, music, you name it. It helps keep you young, it helps keep you alive, it gives you a purpose. And so Gary and Barbecue to You, I think this fits that mold perfectly. So once again, we greatly appreciate Bremerton Kitsap Access Television and us being able to put on this creative showcase. So everybody out there, potential artists, you all have a wonderful month and a productive year. Good day.